Mount up. Oh no, that's regulators, not soldiers.
Yeah, we could go back to 90s hip hop. Welcome to the Far More Podcast. Hey, Liz.
Hey, Jason.
Happy podcasting.
Happy podcast day, girl. How you doing?
I'm doing, you know what?
What?
It's fall time. I got my flannel on today.
Even though it's 85 degrees outside.
That's my problem.
Same.
Right there.
Same.
We
cooked chili last night and it was 87 degrees. It felt so wrong.
You know, we spent some time in the mountains the other week and I was like, great, fall's here is the gateway to fall. Come back and it ain't a falling.
No.
I need the temperatures to be a falling.
They will. Don't worry.
I know. And then we'll be grumpy that it's too cold. But
there's so much truth in that. You can't win.
So anyways, that's what I was like, I wish fall was a little bit more fall-y.
Me too.
So I got something for you today.
Oh no.
Yeah, something for you. We're going.
Should I be nervous?
We're going back to flipping it your direction here.
Oh, the heart is racing a little.
It's not.
Okay.
You love it. One of the things on the front end of doing this podcast that had me apprehensive and was like, not sure we want to do it, is on the slight chance we were going to build any momentum on this thing.
Meaning people were actually going to listen.
Right. If we were going to have tens of followers, that at some point, at some time, not if, but when, like trolls and hate would come.
Oh, like Poppy and Branch?
Yeah,
the cute little trolls?
Yeah, no, girl.
Oh,
no,
not
girl.
that kind of
you
troll.
know that. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I do.
Go to any Facebook group ever about a
Oh,
town
no, trust
and you'll
me.
find it.
I know about trolls.
Correct. And my apprehension was, how would you respond in those moments?
You generally or me personally?
You specifically.
Me specifically.
You specifically,
Okay.
because you care a lot more about what people say and think about you than I do.
Oh, I actually don't know that I believe that.
Oh, interesting. We can unpack that. But I guess I saw you more as the delicate flower in this situation.
That is accurate.
Is what I meant by that.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, come at me, yo, a little bit more. And you're going to be like, what do you mean you don't love me? I'm so lovable. You should love me. And I start from a place, well, I'm not necessarily lovable, so I understand why you don't love me. So I was concerned about how you would respond when that time would come. And here we are.
Here we are.
We have stumbled into a situation where one of our YouTube shorts has gotten a little bit of steam on it.
It's gotten a little bit of attention.
And there's not necessarily good attention. There's some people that
are trolling.
That are trolling it. And what was the irony was the YouTube short didn't even take a position on anything. But
it didn't. It was so vague.
So I was concerned that when that time come, as it has, you would be like, oh no, people don't like us. What should we do?
So I want to get some clarity on something first.
Yeah.
Were you concerned about how it would make me feel about myself, or were you concerned about how I would respond outwardly?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I guess I was concerned that one, it would change your perspective of how we need to do things, or you'd start indexing a certain way, or it'd make you sad, or yes, all the feelings.
So everything, really all of the above.
And then how you would take those feelings and then try to respond,
and channel them.
which could, further perpetuate whatever situation we're in. So,
okay. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. So
why interesting?
Well, because I think it's interesting that you still view me, and I say still because when we met, I was very sensitive. Mm-hmm. I still am sensitive now, but I do not believe I'm anywhere near as thin-skinned as I was when we met. And I think that is to your credit as well as to the Lord's credit, because you are, I'm trying to.
Oh, you're being delicate with me.
I'm trying to think of a real crafty way to say this.
I am what? Bring it.
You are a
Bring
straight
it.
shooter.
That's right.
You pull no punches, and sometimes you have no filter, and sometimes you're much better now than you were when we first met.
Sometimes I intentionally have no filter.
Not only
Right.
that, but I think for a long time you actually didn't think before you spoke. You just said the thing that was immediately on your mind. And I would say to you, just because you think it doesn't mean you have to say it. Now, that's not always true. Sometimes you should speak your mind. Regardless, what I'm trying to say is because of you, I do think that I have developed a thicker skin. And I think that that's good because I was way too sensitive back in the day. I took everything so personally. Second of all, I find it interesting that you still think that I'm like that because, well, I don't feel like I am anymore. I do not see myself as a delicate flower any longer. And I think it's because I'm so grounded in my identity in Jesus.
Well, yes, you absolutely have come a long way in that. For me, what I saw in this moment is you were doing something new. And so it was still raw as you were learning in it. And so when someone comes at you and you're doing something new, your own insecurities could come out and you could revert back to that more delicate flower state. Or, I mean...
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's because of what we experienced opposition on. If they had come at us because of the quality of the content, which is something I have really focused on and tried to learn, I actually would have taken that a lot more personally. But what they came at us on is our parenting style, and I'm solid on that. So
Well, you just got a little grumpy. I mean, you got a little...
No, I didn't get
something.
grumpy. I got
was that?
sassy.
You got sassy.
I think I got a little come at me because for those who are joining us for the first time, hey, we're so glad you're here. But one of our YouTube shorts, so I cut these episodes into little bite-sized pieces for social media. And you can go back and listen to the episode about how to have hard conversations with your kids, because this YouTube short that I'm not going to say viral because it has 6,000 views, but for us, that's viral. And it really didn't, like you said, it didn't even take a position on anything. But what it did show is our parenting style and how we do want to have an open dialogue with our kids, but we also want to know what they're searching, and we want to be in the know. We want to be educated. And we got quite a few comments from kids older than our kids, but younger than us, obviously. And they were basically like, well, they called me a Karen.
Well, this is how you run your kids off.
Right. This is how you shut your kids down. Your kids aren't going to talk to you, you know. But I think you have every right to be concerned. Well, because I'm your wife, and I know you don't want me to feel hurt. But in this instance, I was more like, oh, we're doing something right. I think it actually fueled me.
Well, I think I also
ironically
was trying to protect me from me.
Oh, okay. Say more about that,
because if somebody comes after you, that's going to unleash something in me.
Oh, that's actually very chivalrous and sweet.
But it won't come out chivalrous and sweet.
Well,
I think that's the problem is...
I think it's kind of sweet.
Well, I'm glad you think it's sweet, but I know me, and like you don't come after my inner circle people. Yeah. Or you're going to
You're going to get the grizzly bear.
You're going to bring out something in me that none of us want. Like, I think that's where I was like, I was starting to like...
You were trying to protect yourself against yourself?
I was Bruce Bannering a little bit on that, right? I was trying to keep the Hulk in, right? I was like...
Bruce Banner.
Right. I was like, okay. Like, that's why I'm like...
Do not unleash the beast.
Do not unleash that, because that will just create destruction everywhere. So I think that was part of it. But it led me to just, I think a theme for today is, as Christ followers, if we're on mission, doing what we're supposed to do as followers of Jesus, you're gonna come after. People are gonna come after you. You're gonna be under attack. And how do you respond in that? Right. A little bit. Or the flip side, if you're not under attack, what does that mean? Are you not doing what you're supposed to do for the kingdom? Yeah. And so that kind of led me to tension. That topic.
Yeah. Well, I think, our pastor talked about opposition this morning and rejection. And it is funny that it was on the way to church this morning that I discovered all these comments. They're not hate comments, but they definitely weren't affirming.
They weren't 5-star reviews.
They were not 5-star
No.
reviews.
Nobody was plus oneing us on that one.
I think my first thought was, oh, maybe we're on to something here. Like maybe we're getting into the ears of the right people, of people who need to hear how to love your kids well, how to be loved well as yourself. Like, and because Jason's in my model for loving our children well is Jesus. And maybe it's because those that commented on that YouTube short have not been loved well. I think that's another thing I thought of, is a little bit of brokenheartedness that they weren't loved well. They aren't being loved well currently. And it just makes me want to double down on showing and sharing the love of Jesus. But yeah, we are going to have opposition. And if we don't, to your point, are we on mission? Are we living out our faith the way Jesus has called us to live out our faith? But I don't think we need to get hulky.
Yes.
We don't need to let the Hulk out.
That's
because
right.
it's just like I've talked to our children before. Anger is a natural feeling, but it's what you do with the anger. It's okay. Like I just told our daughter this morning when we got home from church, she got mad at me about something and she stomped up the stairs and slammed her door. Yeah. And I said, little girl, get down here right now. And I sat her down very calmly and I said, it's okay for you to be angry at me. You can be angry at me. What you do with that anger and what you did in that moment with that anger was not the right thing. We do not stomp. We do not slam the door. We don't act out in anger, but it's, it's a learning process.
Well, it is. And I think for me, my natural self is, if you come at me,
yo, and I'm going to come back harder.
I'm coming back 10x.
Yeah.
Like that is my natural instinct. So for me, give me my daily bread is pause. Lord, reset me here, because my natural instinct is, okay, come at me.
Unleash
I'm
Mr.
gonna
Beast.
come back at you, and I got to make sure that that's not the case. All right, so wrapping this up, I threw this out there at you.
I don't even remember what you what was the original question? I actually
we talked
forgot.
about opposition. We were talking about, listen, we bumped into this thing of comments on YouTube.
It all started because you were concerned about how I would react.
Well, when opposition came.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think I just want to reiterate that one of the two reasons that I'm not shrinking and I'm not backing down is because my identity is firm in Jesus. I could not have said the same 5, 10, 15 years ago. I was trying to find my identity. This is a good word, especially for women. I'm going to speak directly to women right now. I was shaky in my identity. I was finding my identity, or trying to find my identity, in other people and how they felt about me. I was not looking up. I was looking out. What do you think about me? What do you think about me? Oh, you don't like my hair? Oh, you don't like this? Oh, you don't like that? Well, let me change everything. Let me do this. Let me do that, because I was looking for external validation as my identity. And that's a path to nothing but bad.
Not great.
Nobody wins. No, you don't win when you look to others for validation and for your identity. And so I think just over the last 2 or 3 years, it's still a process and I still struggle with it a little bit, but I'm finding my identity in Jesus more and more every day, and reminding myself how much he loves me and how I am here for a purpose. I think that's another thing, is that for so long, I felt useless. And I'm not going to cry today, but I felt useless. I felt unworthy, and I am unworthy, but I mean, like the real bad kind. Like, I'm not going to do anything because, it's just a bad place to be. It's a bad headspace, because the Bible tells me that I was created in His image. And if I was created in His image to do His good works, He is going to equip me, and I am here for a purpose, dadgummit. And so when you realize that, there is freedom. Whew. That's a word for myself. I felt like I was almost preaching it myself.
Get that out, girl.
But I know somebody else has to hear that, because I think, don't we all, even the most confident of us, don't we all struggle with feeling ill-equipped and less than and not worthy, and, well, I'm not like her, or I'm not like him, and it's just, it's hard.
And that's a deeper level of opposition. We've been talking a lot about when others come at you. What we're talking about here is, what are the lies Satan plants in your head about yourself when you are your own worst enemy?
Yes, and
right?
I tend to be my own worst enemy a lot.
Right, and I think when opposition for you a lot of times is so internal.
It is.
Where I think of opposition externally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of mine is that inner turmoil. Always has been.
That's right.
I don't know where that's rooted. We'll figure that out, and we'll let you know.
We can unpack you in a different episode.
Oh God, that would need to be like a whole month.
Couple parts to that series.
Maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as we wrap this one up, give some final thoughts on when opposition comes.
When.
It's
not if. It's when.
How we should handle that, and lead us out.
Who's saying how we should handle that?
You.
Oh, I'm saying that. When opposition.
From your perspective.
From my perspective, well, I think first and foremost, you pray. That's my very first thought is, you got to pray. Don't respond, because your natural self tends to come out.
Are you talking to me right now?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
When because you literally said it earlier in the episode. Didn't y'all hear it?
I told it myself. Listen,
You did.
I'm self-aware.
You did. I think it's important to. I think I say something cheesy every episode. So why stop now? Stop, drop, and pray.
Oh my.
Hashtag stop, drop, and pray. But seriously, when you face opposition, don't lash back out, because in my opinion, it's going to ruin your witness. It's going to ruin everything that you have built and everything that the Lord is sanctifying in you. And I think that we have to stop and we have to pray, ask the Lord to calm our spirit and to give us the words to say. And I've said that a lot on this podcast, that I pray often, Lord, do not let me speak on my own, because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the right thing. Speak through me. And so you give it some time, and you let the Lord is going to lead you. He's never going to leave us. He's never going to forsake us. And to me, that means He is always with us. And as long as we are seeking Him, that's a big part. As long as we are seeking Him, He's gonna help us.
Uh-oh, you're looking at me again. Come on.
You have to ask for help.
Oh, oof.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
You're not twitching, so that's good.
I know that.
Right.
I know that. I have to
do it.
Accept that.
You do. You have to accept it. You have to accept that. You do know that the Holy Spirit is there to help you, but you just have to accept that you need it. And I think probably there are other people like you who needed that word. You know, I was speaking to people like me, and I think you're speaking to people like you. And thank goodness we're not the same, because how boring would that be?
Yeah, that'd be terrible. That'd be
hey,
awful.
Y'all, listen, before we start throwing punches back here, I'm just kidding. We would never do that. We're so glad you're here. Y'all, thank you for... I think our listeners show us a lot of grace. I really do.
Thank the Lord.
continue showing us grace, because as I think you can tell by now, if you've been with us since the beginning, we are wrestling with all these things. We don't have anything figured out, and we're hoping we're doing this thing for those of you who are like us, who are you're wrestling with your faith, you're wrestling with what God is teaching you, because just because we hear God say it, it doesn't make it easy. That's something
right.
else to remember. Just because God calls us to do something, it doesn't mean he's going to make it easy, because we live in a tough world. So life as a Christ follower isn't going to be easy. But again, we got the Holy Spirit. Yay, Holy Spirit.
That was a lot right there. You okay, girl?
Every now and then I get a little extra.
Every now and then.
You know what? I am going to put a link in the show notes to the YouTube short that, I mean, it's so odd, y'all, that this is the one that people...
Or maybe, because the short itself doesn't say much. Maybe just God used this to lead us to this conversation.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe so. But I'm still going to put a link in the show notes just so that you can watch it, and maybe y'all can leave some positive comments.
That's right. You can battle back with some positive comments.
Jason, here he goes. Listen, Bruce Banner.
Where's my soldiers at?
Mount up. Oh, no, that's regulators, not soldiers.
Yeah. We could go back to 90s hip hop, but different podcast.
We're on all things social. Far More Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. If you want us to talk about a certain topic that maybe it's something that you're wrestling with and you want to hear us try to unpack it, because if you're wrestling with it, 9 times out of 10, one of us is wrestling with it as
Jason's
well.
Jason's wrestling with it.
I wrestle with things too. We would love to talk about that on the podcast. Well, I say we would love. It depends on what it is, but we will talk about it on the podcast. So you can email us farmorepodcast@gmail.com. And again, we're so grateful for you. If this is your first time, go back to the very beginning and listen to all of them and give us a really good 5-star review. Hey, I love you. Thank you for doing this with me. I know this was tough, and I'm sorry I yelled at you, but it was righteous anger.
You preached at me.
That's better. Let's call it that. I preached at you. So until next time, we will see y'all later.
See ya.